My own family texted me. "We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us completely. No call, no pause to breathe, just a cold sentence lighting up my screen like a warning flare." I stood in my tiny apartment with the window cracked open to let out the heat from a day that wouldn't end, the city humming somewhere below me, and the silence inside my chest louder than any argument we'd ever had. I read the message again, then again, as if repetition might soften it. It didn't. Instead of begging, instead of breaking, I typed back the calmest line I've ever written, not a paragraph, not an explanation, just enough to acknowledge receipt. They had no idea what that moment would cost them. Before I tell you the rest, hit like and drop your city so I know who's listening on the other side of this mess. My name is Maeve Whitlock, and for most of my life, I've been the kind of person people handed problems to the way you hand someone a spare coat, quietly, automatically, without asking whether they could carry the weight. I work in payroll at a medical facility here in the city. It's a job built on order and precision, two things I've clung to for years like railings on a steep staircase. Numbers add up or they don't. Dates matter. Deadlines don't care about excuses. I like that. It's honest. My apartment mirrors that need for structure, soft lighting, clean counters, a small kitchen table with one chair pulled out just enough that I never forget to push it back in. Receipts filed by color in a drawer that sticks a little when it's humid. Nothing fancy, just stable. And in my family, stability has always meant one thing: I pay. My mother, Linda, likes to say family helps family. She usually says it standing near the sink, towel in hand, sighing instead of finishing her sentences, as if the rest of the thought is too obvious to waste breath on. My father, Robert, prefers something sharper, lectures about loyalty and duty, about how he didn't raise me to nickel and dime blood. When his voice tightens, it means I'm expected to cover whatever bill is floating unspoken between us. Then there's my sister Nora, younger by 3 years, louder by a lifetime. Growing up, she always knew how to make herself the center of a room. New jackets, new hair, new drama. She calls me banker girl, half joke, half weapon, fully convenient whenever she needs a security deposit or a refill on her car payment. Every time I tried to say no, the family chorus chimed in. "Don't be dramatic. You know she can't do it alone. You're the responsible one." Even the extended family played along. Our group chat was a constant stream of updates, photos, memes, complaints, until money came up. Then every voice sharpened, reminding me how much my parents had given, how much Nora deserved a break, how I shouldn't make things awkward. It never mattered that they didn't know my budget, or the knots I tied myself into each month to keep everyone afloat. In all that noise, the only person who never took advantage of me was my Uncle Grant. He runs a small moving service across town, the kind of job that gives you strong hands and a quiet read on people. He never asked for anything, never hinted. He just watched. I didn't realize how important that would become until much later. For years I told myself this was normal. Every family has roles. Mine just happened to make me the one who paid for emergencies, shortfalls, the "I'll pay you back next" week promises that never came. I told myself it wasn't personal. But every time I opened my banking app, every time I watched my own plans shrink so theirs could stretch, something small inside me tightened. Then came the night everything tipped. The days leading up to it felt strange in a way I didn't have language for at the time. Small shifts, little stings, moments that should have rolled off me but instead settled under my skin like grit. It started with Nora, the way it usually did. She showed up at my parents' place wearing a brand new coat. Tags still creased into the fabric, and immediately launched into a story about a safer apartment she was eyeing across the city. She didn't look at me when she said it. She didn't have to. "You'll cover the deposit, right?" Her voice was casual, like she was ordering takeout. I said no, not loudly, not angrily, just a steady no I'd practiced in the bathroom mirror. My mother froze with a dish in her hand. My father inhaled slowly, disappointment filling the room before any words did. That was all it took. The air shifted, the room tilted. Suddenly, I was selfish again. Nora didn't even flinch. "Come on, banker girl," she said, smiling like she was in on a joke I didn't get. "It's not that deep." I left early, sat in my car with the heater ticking, watching my breath fog the windshield, wondering why a simple boundary felt like a crime. 2 days later, my office phone rang. I answered with my work voice, calm, clipped, professional, and heard my parents' landlord cheerfully confirming the renewal of their automatic deposit agreement. My deposit agreement. He thanked me for reversing a late fee I didn't know existed. Then he kept talking, mentioning how my parents had given him my work email and apparently my schedule so he could reach me at a good time. I stared at the wall across from my desk. The cheap canvas art blurred as heat crawled up my neck. They hadn't just used my money. They'd opened the door into my professional life, handed out personal information like party favors. Privacy wasn't something I'd ever thought I needed to guard from my own family. That evening, I drove straight to their apartment complex. The hallway smelled like cleaning solution and leftover takeout. I sat my parents down on the sagging couch I'd bought for Nora, stood in the doorway, and finally said the words I'd swallowed for years. I deserve to know what I'm paying for. My mother's face hardened. We feel attacked. My father crossed his arms. Take that tone with your coworkers, not with us. Nora laughed from the hall. Should we tip you now or later? It wasn't a fight. It wasn't even loud. It was worse, casual cruelty delivered with the ease of muscle memory. I left without finishing my sentence. The next afternoon, the group chat notification appeared. We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us completely. Something in me didn't break. It clicked into place. It clicked into place. The minutes after that text felt suspended, like the air itself had thickened just to keep me still long enough to understand what had happened. My family hadn't asked for space. They had issued a verdict. No discussion, no confusion. Just exile, clean and final, followed by silence so loud it rang. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, watching the screen dim. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. What settled over me was colder than anger and sharper than sadness. Clarity. If this was the distance they wanted, I could honor it fully. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. Uncle Grant. He never called unless there was a reason. I'm at your parents' place, he said when I answered. His voice was steady, careful. They asked me to help pack. Pack what? I asked. Everything, he said quietly. Clothes, dishes, photos. They're moving. Out. I closed my eyes. Of course they were. They weren't just cutting contact. They were uprooting themselves, disappearing without a trace, leaving me behind like a bill they didn't want anymore. Grant hesitated. I'll make sure anything with your name on it gets returned. Don't worry. He didn't take sides, he just dealt in truth, and the image of him standing in their living room boxing up their lives hit harder than the text itself. After the call, I opened the drawer of color-coded receipts I'd kept for years. Rent, utilities, transportation, medical bills, subscriptions, groceries, all the invisible threads I'd used to stitch their lives together month after month. I told myself I kept the records for my own sanity. In that moment, they felt like a map. I spread the receipts across the floor. Green for housing, yellow for utilities, blue for transportation, red for medical, purple for everything miscellaneous they never remembered I paid. The stacks curled at the edges like they were tired, too. Kneeling there on the hardwood, knees pulled in, I finally let myself see it clearly. This wasn't support. This wasn't love. This was dependence disguised as duty, and I had become the infrastructure holding up a house that never had room for me. The thought didn't break me, it freed me. That night, Elias came over. He didn't knock loudly. Just one soft tap before letting himself in, the way someone does when they care enough to stay gentle. They texted you, he said. Not a question. I slid the phone toward him. He read the message, jaw tight, eyes soft. You don't deserve this, he said. I didn't cry. I didn't collapse. I exhaled like someone had finally loosened a strap around my chest. I'm done, I said. Then let's start with one thing, Elias replied. Show me what you've been carrying. I handed him the green stack first. Housing, he flip. D through the receipts slowly, like pages in a story that finally explained its ending. The next morning, I sat across from Dr. Priya and told her everything. The text, the packing, the years. She listened without interrupting. Then she said, Maeve, ending a financial entanglement isn't abandonment, it's self-preservation. That sentence was the permission I didn't know I'd been waiting for. I didn't send anything to my family that night. I slept with my phone on silent, face down, the way you do when you're finally done letting it run your life. In the morning I turned it over, The group chat was a storm. Missed messages stacked like fallen dominoes. Nora started it. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? Mom followed. You're being dramatic again. Then fine. We'll do everything without you. If they wanted to cut me off, why were they demanding a response? I scrolled back to the original message. We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us completely. It still looked unreal, clean, sharp, like a paper cut. But now I had something they didn't. Clarity. I laid the color-coded stacks on my kitchen table and took photos. One for each category. Housing, utilities, medical, transportation, subscriptions, miscellaneous. Proof of 7 years of being the family's silent foundation. My fingers didn't shake. Then I opened the group chat. I'm honoring your request for distance. Here is a summary of the payments I've been making on your behalf. All of these will end on the dates circled. Please transfer the leases and accounts into your own names within 30 days. Photo after photo. Send, send, send. And then the final line, of course I'll cancel my direct deposits first thing. For 2 minutes, there was nothing. I imagined their screens lighting up, eyes darting across numbers, dates, totals they'd never once bothered to ask about. And the panic hit. Mom, Maeve, what is this supposed to mean? Dad, money is not the same as family. Don't weaponize it. Nora, you're sick. You did this to humiliate us. Then Aunt Mara, then a cousin, then another. Typing dots swarmed the screen like gnats. Mom again. We meant distance from your attitude, not from you. Your message said stop contacting you completely, I replied. I'm honoring it. Dad sent a wall of text. No punctuation. All fury. After everything we did for you growing up, this is the thanks we get. I didn't respond. Nora tried a new angle. I can't afford to move right now. I'll be in a dangerous area. Are you happy if something happens to me? I stared at the message, breathing steady. I hope you stay safe, I wrote, but I'm not responsible for your lifestyle. The calls started. Mom, Dad, Nora. Again and again until I turned on Do Not Disturb. They wanted a reaction. I wasn't giving them one. An hour later, Grant messaged. I'm dropping off a few boxes tonight. Stuff that belongs to you belongs to me. When he arrived, he stood in my doorway holding 3 neatly stacked boxes, jacket dusty from moving furniture. They tried to rush me, he said. Told me not to bother with anything that wasn't theirs. But I saw your name. Inside were unopened kitchen towels, a blender still sealed in its box, a router they'd never installed, small things I'd bought to make their lives easier, untouched, forgotten. You did more for them than they ever admitted, Grant said. Don't let them twist this. After he left, the messages shifted. Anger turned to pleading. Please don't do this. Your father isn't sleeping. I worked my whole life. You owe me respect. If you stop paying the phone plan, how am I supposed to call work? I answered once. I'm not discussing money anymore. The silence that followed felt heavier than shouting. Then Nora Aga. I don't understand why you're so cold now. You told me not to contact you, I replied. I'm doing what you asked. This time, no one answered. The quiet held. It stretched long enough for me to hear the hum of the refrigerator, the muted footsteps from the apartment above mine, the distant siren threading through the city outside. Real sounds. Present sounds. My life, resurfacing. At midnight, the group chat lit up again. Extended family this time. Aunt Mara. We never expected this from you, Maeve. Cousin Blair. This is extreme. You could have handled it better. Another cousin. Family sacrifices for each other. Why can't you? I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I uploaded one simple document instead. Budget templates. Renter's assistance links. Utility provider contacts. General resources they could use to stand on their own feet. At the bottom I typed one sentence. You're capable. You always have been. No response followed. Just stillness, the kind that feels like stepping out of a storm into a long, quiet hallway. Around 2 a.m., one final message appeared. From my mother. If you do this, you're dead to me. I stared at the line for a long time. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. I'm sorry you feel that way, I wrote, and placed my phone face down on the table. In the darkness of my apartment, for the first time in years, I felt something that scared me more than their anger. Relief. By morning, the group chat was silent, not peaceful, just empty, like a room after everyone's walked out and taken their noise with them. I made coffee, sat at my small kitchen table, and for the first time in years I didn't brace myself for a crisis. Instead, I opened my laptop and finished what I'd started. Passwords changed, cards removed from shared services, automatic payments canceled, one by one. Each confirmation felt like cutting a thread that been wrapped too tightly around my ribs. Later that week I sat across from Dr. Priya again and admitted the truth. I feel lighter, I said, and terrified. She smiled gently. Peace feels dangerous when you've lived in chaos. That night Elias came over with takeout and quiet understanding. He didn't offer advice. He didn't try to fix anything. He just sat beside me on the couch, knees touching mine, grounding me. I'm proud of you, he said. And for once, I believed it. The weeks that followed didn't get louder. They got clearer. I walked without checking my phone. I cooked dinner without waiting for someone to need something. I slept through the night. I learned that love without respect isn't love at all. That boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. My family never apologized. They never acknowledged the years, the numbers, the weight, and somehow that stopped mattering. Because the quiet I'd been afraid of wasn't emptiness. It was space. Space to choose myself. Space to breathe. If you've ever had to step back from someone you cared about just to save yourself, share your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop paying the price for someone else's comfort.